All Indiana Politics is your premier source for Indiana politics, focusing on issues that matter to you.
I still want us to be the best in the Midwest.
We can't afford another lockdown.
Give the citizens of this country the relief they need.
Education in the state of Indiana remains priority number one.
In-depth, nonpartisan coverage.
We don't know exactly where the economy will be in January.
People are worried with good reason.
Exclusive interviews with Indiana's political leaders.
We have the resources here in the state of Indiana to care for those who are in need.
Expert analysis on critical legislation.
We need to reform those laws.
This recovery is going to take some time.
We've got to anticipate that there'll be a budget shortfall.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
I'm Garrett Bergquist, government reporter for Wish TV and the producer of All Indiana Politics. It's the marquee political race of the year in Indiana. Governor Eric Holcomb is term limited, and the Republican, Democratic, and Libertarian parties are pulling out all the stops to claim the governor's chair. All three of the candidates on your ballot should be familiar to you. Republican Mike Braun has represented Indiana in the United States Senate for the past 6 years. Democrat Jennifer McCormick was Indiana's final elected superintendent of public instruction. Libertarian Donald Rainwater is making an encore appearance from the 2020 race. Rainwater is a software developer and a Navy veteran. He took home 11% of the vote 4 years ago. He says the Republican and Democratic parties have not delivered on their promises. Joining us now is the Libertarian candidate for governor, Donald Rainwater. Donald, thank you for coming in today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Garrett.
Housing costs have become a major issue in this election cycle, so let's begin with property taxes. I understand that you want to stop charging property taxes once someone has owned a home for 7 years?
Well, let me kind of back up just a little bit and say that, I believe we should have two goals when it comes to property taxes. The first one is that your property taxes should never go up. One of the problems that we have with affordable housing is the fact that whether you're buying a home or renting a home, as property taxes continue to go up with these increased assessments, people's monthly mortgage payments or their rent continue to go up because those are built in. So what I've said is your property taxes should never go up. I was taught that the only true value of a product, of a tangible item, was either what you paid for it or what someone is willing to pay you for it. So therefore, the only tangible value of your home is what you paid for it. When we keep reassessing the value of a home and then charging people property taxes based on the assessed, or what I like to call the guessed value, what we're doing is we're taxing people on unrealized gains on their property, and I don't think that's right. Then the second goal is that at some point people should own their property, which means the government no longer has the ability to hold over them, that if they get behind on their property taxes, the government can take their property away. So in order to achieve those two goals, I have proposed that we set the property tax at 1% of the purchase price of the property for a maximum of 7 years. That kind of goes with our 7% sales tax. And if someone wanted to pay that all at closing, roll it into their mortgage and amortize it over 30 years to reduce the impact of that, however they wanted to do it, if they want to escrow it 1% a year for 7 years, it's really, the proposal is designed to highlight the fact that we have to meet those two goals. We've got to make it so that property taxes don't keep going up on folks, and that there's an end date, that we're not paying property taxes in perpetuity to the government.
Beyond the property tax issue, what else would you do to increase the supply of affordable housing?
Well, I think one of the things that we need to do is we need to recognize that we're giving a lot of subsidies to new home builders. And we've got in a lot of communities, and we'll use, for example, Muncie as an example, there was recently an article that I read that highlighted the fact that there's a considerable number of uninhabited homes that aren't being rehabbed, that could be affordable housing if we were to refocus on rebuilding those homes in an affordable way, not using gentrification. I think gentrification has caused a lot of the problem. It's great to build nice, new, fancy homes, but there are folks that aren't ready for those nice, new, fancy homes. They just need a starter home. And we've kind of, especially in the donut counties, we've kind of lost our focus on the idea that there are folks just starting out and they need an affordable housing situation.
Besides the property taxes we just discussed, you've called for abolishing the state income tax. Now, income tax alone brought in about $8 billion in revenue last year. How's the state going to function if it loses that much revenue?
Well, that's a great question. But the reality is since 2019, our state spending out of the general fund has increased by $10 billion a year. So we're spending more, and the reality is I think most Hoosiers would agree we're not getting, as Hoosiers, as citizens, as taxpayers, we're not getting the bang for our buck. There's a lot more spending going on, but it's going to support economic development efforts that really aren't benefiting the average Hoosier. So I've said, let's roll back the budget. Let's go back to 2019 and reduce state spending and be more, it's not what you spend, it's how you spend it. And we've gotten to the place where it's just the government is spending more and more money. I mean, if you include the federal government handout that the state takes every year, that's another $20 billion annually that they're spending. And I think we can roll back the budget and eliminate the need for that $8 billion in income tax revenue and eliminate the income tax by doing that.
You've called for every state agency to reduce its spending by 10% per year. How do you accomplish that?
Well, I'll do it the same way that Governor Holcomb did it during the pandemic. He sent a memo out to all the state agencies during the pandemic and said, hey, we're not sure how much revenue we're going to collect during this pandemic, so we need you to cut spending by 10 to 15%. They did that and ended up with a $6 billion surplus. So I think we can go in and look at each agency and identify where the money's going, what it's being spent on, identify where the fraud, waste, and abuse is. And my Republican opponent has admitted that he can almost bat an eye and get rid of 5% of the state budget. So if we actually put some work into it and made the government justify what they're spending and how they're spending it, I think it would be fairly easy to reduce spending by 10 to 15% annually and make the government more efficient instead of just, hey, we've got this big pot of money and we're going to spend it.
Indiana's Medicaid system is currently short $1 billion, and that's led to some very significant service cuts. So 2 questions. First, would you implement any emergency funding for that agency once you become governor if you are elected? And second, what's your long-term plan to fix the problem and prevent future issues, beginning with the budget that takes effect on July 1st of next year?
So let me first of all say that it's my understanding that they found $724 million worth of overbilling that they paid for Medicaid, and that they did not go back and collect that money that they were overbilled. And so that that accounts for about 3/4 of that $1 billion shortfall. So the first thing I would do is say, hey, we need to go and get that money back that we were overbilled and that we overpaid, because we shouldn't be cutting people's promised Medicaid off because we made a mistake. I also am really troubled by the fact that we have a lot of Hoosiers sitting on a wait list for Medicaid, not months, some people for years are on this wait list. The Medicaid program evidently is not being managed very well. And we need to make sure that we have people in FSSA who are managing the program correctly and who are focused on delivering the service that the government has promised to the citizens that they promised that service to. So I would first of all go after the money that that we were overbilled and we overpaid. I would also make sure that as a government, we prioritize the services to our citizens over services to special interests and corporate America. I think the money that has been allocated to the Indiana Economic Development Corporation is excessive and unnecessary, and it should be refocused. Here again, first and foremost, let's fix what we've screwed up with Medicaid.
Would you support a repeal of Indiana's abortion ban?
I would not support a repeal of it. What I support is that, first of all, it needs to go through the court system. That's why we have 3 branches of government. And I would support every Hoosier citizen who feels that there are changes that need to be made to contact their legislators and get their legislators to do what needs to be done. This is not an issue that one person should make a decision on. This is something that the citizens of the state of Indiana need to decide.
You've called for universal school choice. Now, would that include taxpayer-funded vouchers?
So at this point it would, because that's what we currently have as far as our state constitution says that we will fund common schools. I believe that one of the foundational truths about the economy is that monopolies are bad. I think everyone will agree that when there's a monopolistic situation in consumer services, that quality decreases and cost increases. We spend half of our state budget, half, on education. And our state standardized testing says that 63% of our children are not proficient in English and math. When I went to school, 63% was a failing grade. 20% of our third graders can't read at the 3rd grade level. Evidently, our public school monopoly is failing our kids, and we need to rethink the whole process and the whole program, because it's not working.
Given those scores that you just cited, though, is it wise to allow parents to choose non-accredited schools, as you propose doing?
Well, I would say this, Garrett. In my opinion, it's not wise for 150 elected bureaucrats to make the decisions for children's lives when, in my opinion, the good Lord gave us parents for that. And when we exclude parents in the ability to make those choices, then what we have is a totalitarian, authoritarian system of education, and I don't think that's what we want in Indiana.
What's your plan for the LEAP district?
I would like to see the LEAP district be a completely private endeavor, and taxpayers taken off the hook for that. I am a firm believer in the value of economic development, but I believe that economic development should be organic and not government mandated, government forced, and government controlled.
How do you plan to encourage economic growth outside of the major cities?
Well, I think first of all, what we have to do is we have to understand that a lot of what we're doing by putting the heavy hand of government on the scales is discouraging the growth, right? When the government says, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do it here, it's usually to benefit somebody, not to benefit the general populace. And so if we can get government out of the conversation and allow local concerns to come together to attract new opportunity, I think everyone then will have an equal shot. And I think that first and foremost, here again, in Indiana, our government has become a monopoly. From an economic standpoint, if you want to do something, you get the government's support, and the government helps fund it. The government removes the roadblocks for you and makes it easier for you, and then seemingly puts roadblocks in other people's way so they can't compete with you. I think if we remove that, everybody has an equal opportunity to grow the organic way that they decide to grow.
Indiana is scheduled to carry out its first execution in 15 years in December, and 3 other death row inmates have exhausted their appeals. Would you seek execution dates for them?
No, I would not. I personally believe that our execution laws are in violation of the Constitution. I believe it's cruel and unusual punishment, and so I would not. And I would ask the General Assembly to pass legislation to do away with executions in Indiana.
What's one issue we haven't talked about that you believe is not getting enough attention in this election?
Well, I think we have some folks down in Du Bois and Martin County who are very concerned about the fact that farmers are having their farmland taken away to build an interstate so that a few business owners have an easier time getting their trucks to 69 and 65. And I think there are folks down there who are really concerned. They feel like the government is not listening to them. This Midstates Corridor project is not something that the citizens want. And I think that we should be talking more about why we have a government that will take away farmland from family farmers here in Indiana just so that a couple of business owners can get to Interstate 69 and 65 15 or 20 minutes faster.
What makes you the best choice for this role?
I believe that what makes me the best choice for this role is I'm an everyday average Hoosier. I've had struggles. I've had financial problems in my past. I've had job challenges in my past. I've gone through what a lot of Hoosiers have gone through and what a lot of Hoosiers are going through today. And I fought my way through those things, fought my way out of those things, and have fought my way to rebuild my life in a way that I believe that I understand what the everyday average Hoosier is going through in today's economy, and with a government that seems to be stacking the deck against the everyday average Hoosier. And I want to go fight in our state government for the everyday average Hoosier.
Donald Rainwater, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
That was Donald Rainwater, Libertarian candidate for governor. Early voting is underway. It continues until noon on Monday, November 4th. Election day itself is on Tuesday, November 5th. Remember, you can catch All Indiana Politics every Sunday morning at 9:30, only on Wish TV. I'm Garrett Bergquist. Thanks for listening.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Watch All Indiana Politics live Sunday mornings at 9:30 on Wish TV and at wishtv.com. Subscribe to this podcast and listen weekly here on the All Indiana Podcast Network. And be sure to discover even more great podcasts at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.